what do you guys think of the DualSense's adaptive triggers? Specifically, he wants to talk. He wants our thoughts on what we think about games like Call of Duty, where like it'll like give you a different pressures depending on the gun, or like Resogun, where you have to press it halfway down to shoot. Things like that.
Resogun or
Returnal. My bad. Resogun's the other hard smart game.
Yes.
Things like that. What do you guys think about that? I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. It adds I guess for the lack of a better term, like a more immediacy to it. It's like, well, I gotta really press this motherfucker down to get my result. I can see how it could be annoying, but I think in Returnal it's actually pretty cool. That's one of the cool things about the game. I love the way it implements the controls and all that. I haven't tried it for Call of Duty. I mean, if Adam was here, he could probably tell. I think he turns it off, though. He doesn't like it too much, but I think that's pretty cool. I'm all for it, man. But I can see how some people won't, because again, sometimes you gotta really jab on this shit to get it to work. Carlos, what do you say, man?
I like the implementation of it, or the integration of it to the controller. Sometimes the implementation can get a little bit too much. I mean, I haven't played too many PS5 games where it's been. I haven't played too many PS5 games in general, but for example, Astrobot or Astro's Playroom, I think. I forgot.
Astro's Playroom.
That game did a really good job, but there are levels, for example, like the jumping level. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Where it can just get way too much, man. You're like, man, all right, that's enough, man. That's too much. Like you can definitely saturate that kind of enjoyment of using the triggers. Also, one concern that I have is just a competitive advantage in multiplayer. For example, in Call of Duty, if you're using that adaptive triggers and they have different feels for different guns, it might give you a disadvantage against people who don't have adaptive triggers.
That's what Adam said. He said he turns it off for multiplayer because it's a hindrance.
Yeah. So campaigns and single player games, I feel like it could be implemented in a really good way. Just don't overdo it. But yeah, I'm all for them. They did a good job.
Yeah. Chris, the adaptive triggers, not the controller, just the adaptive triggers.
I did like it in Demon's Souls when you like have to use the bow and arrow.
Yeah, that was good.
And yeah, the tensioning and everything was fine. But it's funny enough, in Resident Evil 8, I need to pull real fast, so I turned it off. So because the trigger pulls were really hard, especially when you change guns.
That's
and
right.
like,
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah, I'm like, nah. I'm gonna die. I gotta turn this off. I just want to shoot faster. So there's sometimes when I enjoyed the experience, but in terms of like in a more intense game, like I just shut it off.
Yeah. Brett, adaptive triggers.
I mean, they're cool, they're a novelty, but like everybody else said, they kind of really don't help with the actual gameplay a lot of times, and they kind of take some getting used to. And I don't know. I like them, but I also feel that a good controller should have as little between you and the game as possible. Like it's supposed to be like you're reaching right in the game. I'm not supposed to be super aware of the controller, so the fact that it responds differently than I expected is a little immersion breaking. So it's one step forward, one step back. It's I'm feeling pretty impartial about it.
Yeah. By the way, just a little bit of a quick aside, because I'll freely admit I think most games don't control very well. There's always that little bit of like, oh, I'm fighting a controller. The one game that made me go, oh shit, I didn't realize I was playing the first Infamous. I was like, the controls were so perfect in that the controller just vanished. It's almost like I was controlling with my mind. So good. Brian, what do you think of the adaptive triggers?
I'm kind of with most people here. It's a cool idea, but I don't think that sweet spot has been found yet, and it's going to be hard for developers to find that exact sweet spot between it's there, but you don't notice that it's there too much. Like we talked about Tony.
Yeah,
and
the subtlety.
I think that they have about 2 years to find that sweet spot before they just stop caring, like with most things. Because again, 6-axis was meant to be a thing on like in the PS3 days, and then they just couldn't find that right sweet spot, and then is it even in the DualSense?
Yeah,
I'm
is.
sure it is.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
there.
But again, how like we're like 2 gens over from that, and how many people are using it? But you almost never see it unless it's like a first party game on like a launch title, because they have to
Astros.
put it in there just to say, hey, this thing's in there. But then years down the line, it's gone. So I think we have like a year and a half left of it being a thing, and then after that, it'll just stop existing anymore.
Yeah. Again, like Brian, you and I talked about this. I think Returnal makes a good case of how to use the not only the adaptive triggers but just the features of the DualSense overall, because it's subtle, right? Like again, I liked the way Astro's Playroom did it, but it was just bludgeoning you over the head with it, which is cool because it was a showcase game. But I think Returnal does it really well. That's probably one of the best things about the game. Like you'll feel the rain and like the wind and all this other shit. But yeah, you're right. We'll see what happens if these companies are still using it a year from now. We shall see.
We'll see about when I actually get a PlayStation 2, which is probably in 2 years.
5.
PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I can't ask you about this because you haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, I'll find out. They're like, hey, what are you talking about, this adaptive trigger thing? None of these games use it.
Yeah. Man. All right. Manny, do you want to chime in? Because you haven't even experienced it yet, but, why not? Just
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I haven't yet to try it. I mean, to be honest, I've barely seen a PlayStation 5, a physical PlayStation 5 in an actual location.
Nobody has.
No, with the exception of seeing the shell at a Best Buy, and I finally see the control. I've seen the controllers actually at the local Target, and but that's about it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the controller, baby.
No, but I mean, I've never touched the controller. I'm like,
yeah. So you do not know the power.
I did when I did see the final PlayStation 5 in person. I'm like, that is big, isn't it?
It's huge.